Hi there, you're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. My name is George.
My name is Tom.
My name is Adam.
And with our powers combined, we are Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com.
Tom, you're reporting live from Sydney, as I understand it.
Yes, I am indeed. I'm way up north, where the roads make no sense. I don't know. This is that's a very niche complaint. I feel like anyone who hasn't visited Sydney will just not care. But my God, driving around in Sydney is driving me insane.
Yeah,
especially.
No, it's a shit show.
Oh, it's absolute shit show. Like everything, all the roads are so windy, so you kind of don't have a gauge of how far you've gone. Like last night, right? My parents were in town, so my fiance and I and them went out for dinner. We got an Uber out to a restaurant that, according to Google Maps, was like 2 km away. So not far at all. We were just like, oh, we'll just have some wine. So let's like go out there rather than fucking trying to park in I think it was in Bondi. Park in Bondi.
It was 3 years later.
And then we got in the cab and it traveled around. Felt like, we traveled a decent amount of time. So it'd be like, okay, and he's winding through back streets and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, I have no idea in relation to where we left to where we are. I don't know what direction we went in. I saw the ocean at a point, so that means that's east. But otherwise, no idea where we are. And we pulled up Google Maps when we got there, and I'm like, fucking, it looks like we could have walked here. How far have we traveled and where have we gone? And also, our GPS, for when we're driving around, Sydney needs to tell GPSs how their roads go, because the amount of times it's been like, yeah, cool, turn right up here, and there's 8 signs, and if you fucking turn right here, every driver in this intersection will get out of their cars and beat you with ugly sticks. They will just yell at you. Sydney has some of the most aggressive drivers I've ever seen. If a car has stopped when either they shouldn't or it's an inconvenience to them, it's like Paris, if you've ever been there, just immediately honking horns and yelling and just, oh man. I think no one in Sydney wants to be on a road driving a second longer than they have to, and I can understand why. It's fucked.
Yeah, it's very different from the way that Melbourne operates. Melbourne's, obviously the CBD is a grid, and then there's sort of main arterials that flow in and out of Melbourne, kind of like a spider web. Right, think of that as the situation with Melbourne is you've got this little center, and then everything sort of flows out from the center, and then sort of the outer reaches are connected by various tollways and things like that. Whereas with Sydney, it's just we just started building stuff, and
yep,
and now this is what it is now.
Okay, we've started building, and oh fuck, we need a hospital. So I guess just there. All right, great. I don't know, a couple of restaurants. Oh, but we just built several suburbs worth. It's oh, okay, just put it on that corner. I was right in the middle of a whole bunch of suburbs, not a central area where people would be expecting shops and restaurants. Nah, right there on the corner. So I mean, it does mean there's some great little holes in the wall to be oh, you're just walking around suburban wherever, and then, oh, a cafe, and oh, it's really good, and there's just nothing else around it. So they must be loving working from home orders and stuff like that, because, all those people now needing more food
and they say, listen, man, if you tell anyone about this fucking cafe, I'll have you, Longshanks. Okay, this is a community secret. You Melbourneites trying to tell everyone about our coffee, okay?
Oh, and
you stay out of here,
It's a perfect little secret, because fucked if I know where I am.
Yeah, or how to get back.
I left my house and I started walking, and then how did I get here? And where am I? Have I traveled 10 kilometers or 10 meters? I don't know.
If I've learned anything in the last 10 minutes, is that if the zombie apocalypse, if and when it does happen, I don't, Tom's dead. He's not going to navigate his way. He's not going to survive. He's not going to be able to work out which way is up. And then,
I mean, that's true, but I reckon I could lose a horde of zombies really easily. The whole break line of sight.
Are you losing the zombies, or
you're the bait for the rest of us to get away?
Yeah, but in all the TV shows and comics or whatever, that they encounter zombies and you run and you have to try and hide from the horde, and because they just get distracted by sounds and stuff, right? So you could break line of sight and be out of there, and they won't know where you went.
Unless, of course,
probably it's got that benefit.
Unless they're running zombies, World War Z zombies, in which case it's all over. I think my unique selling proposition for being a key member of the group during a zombie apocalypse is my ability to immediately throw morality out of the window the moment that I understand that a zombie apocalypse is actually happening. Like, I'm happy to be the guy that's like, just got to leave him behind. Like, he's not going to make it. We got to let him go. Like, I'm just happy to throw morality out the window as soon as.
Is that a good attribute to working as a part of a team?
It's a guy. It's the guy that survives. Certainly,
it's the guy you need, I guess, until you've formulated a society, like a little community to live in, and then you got to work together. But you got to get to that sort of point. But anyway, Adam, I guess we're not going to Giorgia's place in the event of the apocalypse because he will kill us. He will kneecap us.
Hang on.
Tom won't be able to find his way to Giorgia's place in the first instance.
Well, you're already, exactly. You're already off the list, mate. So, second of all, Adam's got his camo. He's got his army trading. He's from playing all those army video games. So he's a useful member of the team. But just so you know, Adam, at the moment you're a liability, mate. You're done. We're done.
If those zombies are coming in and they're gonna catch up to you, George will kneecap you so they get you first and he can get away.
No, don't get me obviously
you will fucking shame that shit.
Featured extras and like people who are not part of the in group will be the first to go. So he's not the first one that I'm going to throw under the bus. But let's be clear, I will throw you under the bus.
You with a pair of handcuffs to the top of a building and just leave you there to cut your own hand off and escape your own way. And,
don't worry. I'll come back like 5 seasons later with a vengeance. Don't worry about that.
Somehow.
Convenient reference.
Speaking of coming back 5 seasons later with a vengeance, Mark Dreyfus has made a splash this week by heading up the introduction of a federal ICAC. This is a news and politics podcast. You won't know because we spent the first 6-7 minutes talking about zombies. But Federal ICAC, Commission Against Corruption, or the NAC, I believe it's going to be called, National Anti-Corruption Commission. They want you to know that they're anti-corruption. They're not pro-corruption.
That doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
Yeah.
I'm so used to ICAC. ICAC just is, the NAC.
Name. Like, it's already taken. ICAC is trademarked now, so you can't use that.
You want to have your own branding, your own brand awareness, right? You want to have the FICAC doesn't have quite the right ring to it. So
I think for their imagery, they could have a prism with light going through it, and it could be like
dark side of the moon. That shit.
So the federal ICAC that's been tabled this week as a result of the great work done by Helen Haynes. During the last seat of parliament is finally coming to fruition under a Labor government. It looks like they are going to be empowered to investigate third parties. So this is one of those great examples where I fucking told you so. I was absolutely fucking correct. Having more independence in parliament is a good thing because it forces the government to, rather than like falling over its own dick to negotiate with the Liberals and water down the legislation as much as possible in order to get it through, they're actually getting pushed in the other direction by people like, David Pocock and Zali Steagall, some of these independents to actually strengthen the legislation and make it more, give it more bite than otherwise it would. So,
well, they campaigned on that sort of stuff as well, right? Like a large part of the independents was like, how many stories have you heard over the past couple of years of how corrupt people from the major parties are? We've got to fucking do something about
Let's
this,
have not that. So we'll have the power to investigate third parties who pose a corruption threat. So those could be people who are suppliers to the federal government and things like that, consultants, etc. Which, it seems like a kind of a no Fred fucking moment to me because it's like, of course, like if the Commission Against Corruption was only empowered to investigate politicians, it's like, well, who are they doing the corruption with? You know what I mean? Like, if it's not third parties and people, interested parties and, donors and these sorts of other peripheral players, then like, what is the point of it? Surely those are the people with whom the corruption is being done if they're, in this scenario. So surely they should be included as part of the investigation, as part of the threat. So that all bodes relatively well.
Has protections for whistleblowers, which was something that
Yeah, that's
apparently it was sort of up in the air.
They're still sort of discussing the finer details on whistleblower protections, but yeah, obviously that seems to me like a very common sense thing to have included.
To not have that is insane, because you're just like, where are you gonna hear about the corruption happening if you're not gonna protect the people who take the risk to tell you?
Like podcasts that they have going on in Canberra that everyone listens to. So yeah, I think it's a good thing. The interesting, like, there was all this like sort of I don't know. I feel like it was hot air. Like everyone was like freaking out that like, somehow the bill it'd be like a wet shoe basically and wouldn't actually do anything. But I don't know. I mean, it shows that I guess Labor and the system is working. Like it's a good thing. I don't know. It's kind of like
sorry, I'm just stuck on the wet shoe thing. That was a bizarre thing to have
wet
said.
Blanket, wet shoe. I don't know.
I'm going to say, I'm not familiar with the expression "a wet shoe."
Yeah, it's because it's not an expression. Yeah. Shockingly.
Yeah.
So, Peter Dutton obviously is both trying to have his baby and eat it too, saying that he's willing to sort of provide support in principle, but also criticizing the bill, saying that, it's going to result in show trials and protracted investigations. So there's this sort of provision in there saying that trials can be public under exceptional circumstances. So previously it was all going to be done behind closed doors, which is not really what you want in an ICAC. You want the ability for cases where there's a significant public interest. I think it makes sense to have that done publicly, which is the same as the New South Wales ICAC model. It's only about 5% of those, sort of trials are actually publicized. So, which would be the case here. So I think we could probably loosen it up to be a little bit more transparent than under exceptional circumstances, which is what it is currently. But I think there is good to have, it's good at least to have some oversight as to the process and what's going on. Dan Illich actually just recently of Irrational Fear podcast fame, of Billboard fame, Dan Illich, recently did a great live show, which was published just recently, where he was talking with a bunch of journalists about Australia's sort of reflexive move to have these things not be transparent. So a lot of journalists were talking about their experience with freedom of information requests and how reticent public officials are to put anything on the record just because of this culture of secrecy, essentially, that we fostered over the last 20 years, and how problematic that is for reporting. So I think anything that introduces additional transparency is a good thing. I didn't realize quite how pervasive it was, and I think Australia actually is a lot worse than other developed democracies in this regard, in our lack of transparency.
Is there a risk though that if it was like open slather, like say the US or whatever it may be, that you then potentially have, if it's just an investigation and you're investigating third parties, companies, people, and then there is no actual corruption, that you potentially just
that you ruin someone's life. Yeah, then that was the argument that Dutton was making. I'm not necessarily convinced by that. I think there is a certain threshold, like for example, when it's a premier of a state, in Gladys Berejiklian's case, there are cases where the addition of transparency is a welcome part of the process because of the seriousness of the allegations. But you could make the argument about any court proceeding, most court proceedings, unless it's like a Pfizer secret court or something like that, like they have in the US. All court proceedings are public. You don't get to a court proceeding unless there's at least a preponderance of evidence that something has occurred, and it's up to the court process.
Court proceedings, though, these are,
I guess, during the
investigation that would recommend charges if there are any.
During the investigative process, I think it's okay to keep it under wraps to a certain degree. If you do get to the stage where you're having proceedings where a preponderance of evidence has been gathered, and it's like, okay, we're just getting testimony from key witnesses, but we're pretty sure we know what's going on here. Like, I think that's okay to publicize, because I mean that's what a regular trial is. You can go and sit down in the magistrate's court or the county court here in Victoria any day of the week and see proceedings that are going on. I think it's right and fair for a democracy to have oversight of that process. But yeah, maybe not in the initial investigation stages. Maybe once a set of facts has actually been generated and gets to a level where you can actually sort of have a proper discussion about it. I think That's
reasonable inferences to what is going on.
Yeah, there's that damn word again. Reasonable
covers
inferences.
Anyone who's got a friend who's a lawyer knows that reasonable covers a myriad of sins.
Yeah. Whose reasoning is what I want to know, because I think, my reasoning I think is probably different to Peter Dutton's reasoning.
Yeah.
Whose reasoning?
Four Corners had a thing last night on Peter Dutton, and I was watching this while sort of becoming hungover from drinking all day.
Which is the only way to experience Peter Dutton is in pre-hangover mode. That's got to be a winning combination.
The more the story went on, the more hungover I got, and I was very confused.
No, I think it was he's a psychic vampire who was sapping your energy through the screen, I think.
It was kind of one of those sort of like, who is Peter Dutton and where has he come from and has he changed? Anyway, it was a fairly
don't look at me! Don't look at me!
I would say that for Four Quarters, it was a fairly balanced they got, they had Tony Abbott on there saying, oh, we shouldn't judge him yet. And they had people from the African community in Melbourne being like, this guy ruined my life.
Yeah, it's a pretty balanced way of presenting the information.
Yeah, I do love that line they're having with Peter Dutton of just a sidebar to this story where they're like, oh, well, we shouldn't judge him yet. He's only been the leader for a couple months. It's like, but what about the year's worth of stuff when he wasn't? Can I judge him on any of that?
Tom, you can't judge a man.
He's already done?
Mate, that's not fair to judge a man by his entire career and all the things he's ever done and said over the course of a very long career. It's not fair to judge him based on those things. What we need to do is judge him based on the things he's told us only recently in the last couple months when he's trying to present the best version of himself. That's the only thing you can judge a person by.
After he's paid the marketing and image consultants a fucking shit ton of money, that's the only time we can judge him. After
Now, Peter, you need to smile more in pictures. Let's see that smile. And it's just, it's Arnie it's Arnie in Terminator 2, just slowly moving the lips open and just be like, we'll work on that.
I'm just imagining, all the different, if Mad as Hell was still going on the ABC, that, one of the people that they throw to during that Peter Dutton interview would be, Dr. Frankenstein. It's like, so tell me, how did you, when you brought Peter Dutton to life using photovoltaic electricity, what were your exact thoughts as the kind of man that he would become? And it's just like, it's alive! Thank you, Dr. Frankenstein. Yes. We'll return later in the piece for additional comment.
Yeah. But I hope that was I haven't watched the Four Corners report, that is the kind of disparity, though, that it's Tony Abbott being like, he was always lovely to work with, and I think, to judge him as the leader, you got to give him a fair go. Smash cut to, he ruined my life by stirring up a racist tirade of Sudanese gangs in Victoria.
Look, I think they did their fair job at getting diversity of comments, but at the end of the day, if you look at just the way
but there are some comments I value more than others. It's again like the reasoning thing, right? Tony Abbott saying, yeah, he's a good bloke, and a Sudanese man in Victoria saying he turned me into a pariah.
As a former employee of mine, a former subordinate of mine, I could say he always treated me really nicely. A white man treated me, another white man with total and utter, in a superior position to him with total and utter respect. I can't imagine why it would be otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Anti-corruption. Let's get that sorted. I think it's going through. Was it going through Parliament, through the lower house? Has it passed? I'm not sure if it's just been introduced.
I don't know if it's passed yet, but we've at least just had the details of the proposed bill. Was this past week, Thursday or something.
Last week, Jane Hume, a Liberal MP, Jane Hume. Was it Jane Hume? Am I getting that right?
I don't know.
Was saying that doesn't matter. A Liberal MP who was on Insiders last week. I forget her. Yeah, no, it was Jane Hume. She just looks skinnier in this photo. Yeah, that was her. So she was on Insiders last week saying, if you introduce a anti-corruption commission, then people, talented people who would otherwise go into politics aren't going to join. They're going to be scared off of politics. And I was like, That's the point, Jane.
Good.
That is very much the point. We don't want those people in politics because those people are corrupt, Jane. That is very much the point of this.
That's
the dumbest fucking reason.
Our point.
Jane Hume is honestly like, and she just got like absolutely like an absolute bollocking after that interview as well. Basically saying, there was the big quote from that one was like, so David Spears was like, okay, so what would you do differently? And she's like, we're the opposition. It's not our job to have policies. And everyone was like, what? That is your whole job, is to come up with alternative policies to the ones that are in place so people vote for you and not the people that are currently in power. How do you have a job here? Jane, is this your first day?
If we learn anything from the Victorian Liberal Party is that they literally don't have any policies.
They don't. No, she literally just like said the quiet part out loud. She was just like, no, our job is just to attack until we get returned to government. We don't have to, like, it's not our job to come up with ideas. I'm like, okay, cool. So it's good that there's an ICAC happening. It seems like the influence of the independents is going to give it additional teeth. I just hope that the Labor Party doesn't, fall into its natural pattern of trying to genuflect to the, trying to fall over themselves to try and appease the LNP in order to get their support when, like, frankly, they don't need it.
I don't think they need it, so there's no. I don't think they will.
But they seem to have, like, that's. I mean, this here in this Guardian article, it says, "quote: After concerns Labor could be preparing to water down its bill to win coalition support, Dreyfus." The current Attorney General and member for ICAC, in which I currently reside, reassured independent MPs in question time on Monday that both a broad scope for investigations and public hearings will be in Labor's bill. And he went on Insiders this morning, Mark Dreyfus, and was saying, the quote was, watch out. If you're someone who's done corrupt stuff, watch out. Because ICAC's coming
members
after
of the Labor Party that all of us. This is the thing, is that it could be a bit of a double-edged sword to some degree. Like, if Labor's got any skeletons in the closet as well,
which they do, both sides of politics do.
And if it's retrospective,
I guess I hope so, because that's the part whenever they've been talking about. I've always seen those headlines going around of like, Mark Dreyfus says that this isn't about political point scoring or whatever, to like, we're going to use this commission to attack our coalition enemies. And I was a bit like, oh, fuck. Well, of course you'd say that. But then I read the full comment and, like, I'm paraphrasing, but it's along the lines of, because the people running the inquiry aren't us. Yes. We are setting up a thing where there's a bunch of other people and they can decide what to and to not investigate.
I just imagine Scott Morrison.
Do you think they should be investigated for the sports rorts? And he's like, I previously said I feel that's really corrupt, but that's the thing. It's not my decision. So I can't politically point score with this. I'm like, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. So it's kind of like,
I hope it does root out some corrupt Labor people, if there are any.
It's almost like they're adults running the show now. I just imagine Scott Morrison just reading the Daily Telegraph this morning over a cup of curry that he's heated up from last night. And just going, Jenny, maybe let's pack the bags. I think we're going to Hawaii. Retrospective, you say. Very interesting. Okay. Also, another interesting thing that came out of that interview was the fact that Mark Dreyfus kind of hinted that this body would be empowered to would have the same resources available to them as law enforcement agencies. So if there was a warrant, they would have the ability to potentially see encrypted messages from encrypted texting services like WhatsApp and Signal, which there's famously been a culture of using these kinds of apps in Canberra, presumably for the purposes of not having any communications leaked because of how they might look. So if they've got the ability to potentially uncover those, that I'm sure that would unearth a lot of potential corruption from previous years. So I personally, for one, am excited. And yes, inevitably.
Tell you're very excited. Man, you posted a thing last week where it was like, they're about to announce it. I was like, I haven't done it yet, man. Like, let's just wait.
Adam's like, do we need this in the rundown? It hasn't happened yet. I'm like, I know, but sometimes the expectation of opening up a present is almost as good as the experience of getting the present. It's like when you're planning a trip and you're like, I'm going to go here. I'm going to see this gallery. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go eat this food. And then your wife says, just calm down. down. We're not going till October. So you just need to take a breath and just relax because we're not actually going to the thing yet. So you just need to calm down. That's how I feel about an ICAC. Do we...
Holidays or ICAC? What would you prefer?
Say again?
Holidays or ICAC?
What would you prefer? ICAC 6 days a week and twice on Sundays. Thank you very much. Yum, yum, yum. I fully expect that Labor is going to get pulled up by this federal ICAC. And good. Like, I don't know why people seem to like respond to me like, oh, just you watch out, George. Labor's going to get caught up in it and you're not going to be loving it so much then. And it's like, no, I'm actually not just a partisan. I'm also just anti-corruption in general. Like I don't like corruption, whichever side of politics it's on, believe it or not. Like I will be obviously disappointed in the Labor Party whenever these corruption allegations yet to be named will surface, but I will be happy that corruption is less in the country in which I reside. You know what I mean? Like it'll suck. That week is going to suck and heads will roll. But if they roll, it's because they deserve to roll and they shouldn't be in parliament, whichever side of politics they're on. Right. So.
Good.
It'll be nice to have a national accountability body that isn't just like Sarah Ferguson on Four Corners. You know what I mean? Like a more robust system of accountability than journalists asking hard questions for 1 hour a week on the ABC. Like it'd be nice to have some sort of formal apparatus for it. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, job vacancies in Canberra, I guess. If you're in the look for one.
Get
excited.
To be part of it. I did actually like, this is funny, back in the day, when I was applying for jobs, I did apply to be part of the IBAC, the International Broad-Based Commission Against Corruption in Victoria. Obviously, I didn't have any skills or experience then, so it was really just like pure ambition on my part. But I went through a whole, like there was a multi-step, all these different forms that you had to fill out and things like that. But it was like genuinely something I was excited to do. Was like, oh, if I could get a job working in the Anti-Corruption Commission, like that would be amazing. So it's something I feel strongly about, despite the fact that I have no skills in that area. Speaking of...
All you need is a strong heart and an ambition.
All you need is to wield a sword of fire and have your enemies tremble before you and hear the lamentations of their women. So speaking of practices that may or may not be strictly above board, Optus. So
yes. Woo! I can't wait to have my identity stolen. I wasn't here when you guys talked about it last week.
Yeah. So if you're keen on impersonating Tom, his personally identifiable information will be available on the dark web shortly.
Yeah, just Google it.
Just give it.
According to the one story where the online account that claims to be behind the Optus data breach says it's deleted its only copy of the customer's information.
Yes.
Yeah, but that was posting
after allegedly leaking 10,000 of the records first in like the, because what was it was the thing of like, I'll release 10,000 customers' details an hour until you pay me $1 million. And to show I'm not bluffing, there's 10,000 already. And then media shitstorm kicks up and they go, I'm so sorry, we're out. Deleted. Bye.
I deleted it.
Oopsies.
It is interesting.
We're not paid, but we don't care anymore.
It is.
Yeah.
That whole thing seems like very weird to me and leads me to believe that it's like some 16-year-old kid who knows about APIs and has gotten himself into like way too much shit. Because like $1 million is not actually a large sum of money for a organization like Optus.
It's Austin Powers written all over it. It's we'll ask for $1 million and they go, no, you realize like fucking, I don't know, Microsoft makes $90 billion a year. Like, like $1 million's not really that much if you're talking about like a threatening amount of money to a company. Like,
and here's the thing.
Look, goals need to be achievable. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to set reasonable, achievable goals.
It's important to set realistic KPIs if you don't want to reduce morale. If there's one thing my MBA has told me, it's the importance of morale in an organization. That's true. Yeah. But the fact is, the damage, the reputational damage to Optus, and also the financial damage of having this information leaked is like going to be well in excess of that figure. So if you look at, the Optus, I think of their own volition, was offering to pay for people's driver's licenses to be replaced. And then the government sort of stepped in and said, hey, there's passport and Medicare information in there as well. You should probably pay for that as well. And then Optus is like, we've decided totally independently that we are going to help to replace the cost of your passports to get those replaced. And the cost of a new passport is over $300. So if you look at 10,000 people that have had that we know of for sure, their information is on the dark web, 10,000 passports at $300 a pop is already $3 million, right? So, and that's just the stuff that we know about that's out there. So I think like the actual cost of this cleanup is going to be well in excess of whatever sort of financial penalty you would have had from the ransom. And who's like going to trust Optus again with their data? Like, I think they're going to have a real trouble generating business going forward. So, it's interesting.
Just because I wasn't here last week when you guys were talking about the initial story. I think especially with the week since as well, the frustrating thing that I've found is the consistency of the information being delivered. Because as media reports have shown, like at first it was like, they have your driver's license, identification, your ID documents, and your email, home address, phone number, whatever, but they don't have your password and they don't have your banking information. And then some people have been, one of my fiance's colleagues has had $100 taken out of their account in a test, like just sort of recently after this. So it's like, maybe financial information has been compromised in that sense. But I got an email from Optus, I think it was 5 days after, the media reports had kicked up that they'd been hacked. So that's also not great. But in that email, it specified that, it had the whole thing of dear Tom, unfortunately, we've been hit by a cyber attack. And it was like, hardly an attack. But, let's not split hairs.
As someone who deals with APIs, you of all people know that that's not an attack. That's just a backdoor that you left open.
As someone who works with APIs in a dev environment, I'm like, no, this wasn't an attack. You didn't have subscription keys on your API.
You left a fucking doggy door open. Yeah.
Yeah. Not even a doggy door. I think it's just the front door.
The back door. Yeah.
Just like the front door open and unlocked. It was your API was in Toronto and just like this.
A highly sophisticated Russian hacking attempt is like, hey, y'all, you want some ham and biscuits? Come in.
Yeah, just absolutely cooked. But the email said like that had happened. And then it said, no financial information or passwords were affected. But it was specifying it like, it was phrasing it like, your password and financial information was not accessed. Your name, date of birth, email, address, phone number, whatever. And then no digital identification documents were accessed either. But I'm like, but I'm hearing in the news everywhere. And then that's when Medicare numbers came out as well, which hadn't been talked about before. So I'm like, wait. Do I trust this that you're like, you have sifted through, like you've gathered evidence, you've forensically looked at everything, and you've discovered that for me, specifically Tom, they didn't get my password, my banking, or my driver's license or whatever? Or did you send that out and then, no, that's not true because that's what I'm seeing in the media. I have no idea what's at risk and what isn't.
You tried calling them.
Fuck no.
Using an Optus line? Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, yeah, because I'm a current Optus customer in that sense. So, I feel like I really ought to know. But as, I listened to last week's episode. Yes, I listen when I'm not here. You can't just say bullshit about me and me not know about it. That, as Adam, you pointed out, it's like there's often not a lot you can do. Like, really, it's just, well, it's out there. No amount of password changing or whatever is going to fix that. And you just have to do credit checks or whatever to keep an eye out as to whether anyone's using the information. So that's really where I'm at the moment. It's like, well, fuck. I mean, the information's already out there. What am I going to do?
I think the safest thing is to change your name by default to Posh Puppy 69.
Oh, yeah, perfect. No, please, George. Osama Big Nuts 420. That's
yes.
just gotta
420.
Gotta
the
go
420 really makes it, yeah.
What was the one from the other night? I can't remember.
No, let's not repeat that on the show. It was a very, very disgusting handle. We do love noticing We do love noticing people's shameless gamer handles, but some of them are fun shameless, and some of them are like, oh, that's like borderline hate crimey shameless. And, no.
Yeah, there's definitely some where they're like, how'd that get past the mods? I don't know. How is that?
Like,
okay.
Well, I guess neither of the words involved are
swear
in
words.
and of themselves bad, but you put them together in a sentence and it's very bad. Could say that about most words, really.
For those, for those who are wondering, we're not just highly successful, podcasting magnates. We're actually friends in real life as well, and we game together. So
yeah. It's very nice. It's very wholesome.
Bit of a peek behind the curtain there.
Yeah, we try to tackle the toxic masculinityness of gamers by telling each other we love each other and stuff when we sign off after a night of gaming, and it's all very wholesome and lovely.
Is that how that works? Do we say we love each other?
I do.
Or do you say you love us?
After I sign off.
Just like this fucking guy.
What an asshole!
Fucking guy.
Well, I think I need to head down to Bondi Beach and rethink some things.
Yeah. If you need to rethink anything, Bondi Beach is an excellent setting in which to do it, so you can see the muscular oiled men and their tiny girlfriends.
Yes. Yeah, let's not get bogged down in that. But if you have any kind of body confidence issues, do not go to Bondi Beach. Holy shit, I felt like such a piece of shit walking around there. I was like, oh, this is not good for my self-esteem. And then I chastised myself for tying my self-esteem to my appearance when, no, there's nothing wrong. All bodies are great bodies. But I was just like, oh, man.
It sounds like you're spiraling a little bit.
A little bit.
I mean, I guess the whatever's out there is now out there. Optus should reimburse you for certain things. I don't know how that process works.
I'm sure it'll be a well-oiled machine. It's certainly going to be absolutely easy to get money back from your passport.
The way I understood it was that because to apply to get your passport, a new passport or a new driver's license or whatever, you have to go to your the road authority in your state or the post office and all that, and that's all government handled, and the government is going to just bill Optus. If you're coming in for,
you need to come with proof that your information has been compromised. You're an Optus customer,
so probably the contact email from Optus or whatever, and just be like, I'm doing this because this happened, and I assume then it's free of charge for you on the day, and then it's between the government to hash it out with fucking Optus. So, yeah.
But yeah, as we said last week, just keep your eye on it, and that's pretty much all the government did as well. They're like, just be aware of it. Yeah, but it's pretty funny that the weird twist is that the online account, basically was it was a mistake to scrape published.
The alleged hacker, the person claiming to be the hacker.
Mistake to scrape published data in first place.
That's
the
why
English
I think it's a kid.
In the tweets doesn't sound great either. It sounds like English might be their
Oh well, yeah. So
second language or something.
They might not be in Australia. It's the internet can be accessible anywhere. So it could be anywhere in the world.
I really do think it's a kid. I don't think if you're a professional Russian hacking outfit who's looking to extract, ransom amounts, you wouldn't take it down and apologize. It does sound
you know exactly what you're doing. The ramifications of what you're doing. I don't think anyone who knows what they're doing in hacking hits something like Optus, sees the kind of stuff they're getting, 11 million accounts worth of people's personal identifiable information. You're like, you know what you're doing, the scale of what you're doing, the ramifications of what you're doing, and the value that would have both for either individuals or the business that you're taking them from. I don't think you then go, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done this. Hey.
It does sound to me like a kid who's gotten way in over his head. He's just I'm just going to pick the biggest number I can think of. It's $1 million. And then he starts seeing all the headlines and starts seeing stuff about the Australian Federal Police jumping in. He's like, oh, I think I might have fucked up. I think I did a mistake. I shouldn't have done this.
And then his mum came down and saw the computer and was like, what have you done? And she's like, you better
PlayStation for a month.
Yeah. Adam, are you falling into the trap where everyone just hears like hacking and they assume it's the green code falling over grids on the screen?
Yeah, it's the Matrix
and they're
in
like
my head.
tapping away with like a million cans of V. And it's like, no, really, it's
imagining a kid getting yelled at by his mum because he's just committed one of the biggest data breaches
in Australian history.
I mean, like seeing the computer, quote unquote, it's like it probably just look like Postman is open on it, which just looks like a fairly innocuous program you can hit APIs with. Like it won't look like sinister.
Yeah, mum doesn't look at just
web, Tom. The dark web's got like it's obviously dark. Is the dark web dark? I actually don't know what color the dark web is.
Yeah, I assume it's dark themed on the dark web. That seems like
force dark theme. There's like a little toggle in there that just like forces dark theme. That's all the dark web is. It's the regular web, but dark mode's just turned on permanently. Yeah, that's all that stands between you and hiring a hitman.
That's and that's from someone who, hey Tom, do you work in IT?
Who's asking?
Classic IT answer.
It depends. Do you need a hitman or your laptop fixed?
Yes.
So if it's a hitman, I will talk to you.
Can I say, by the way,
someone's laptop? Nah.
Just a public service announcement. The amount of stories I've seen where it's like, woman tries to hire a hitman to whack her ex-husband, and like turns out it's the FBI. Guys, it's always the FBI. You're never hiring an actual hitman on these. Don't hire hitman on the dark web. You know, or at all, or offline. Don't hire hitmen in person either, because that's murder. But like,
don't get your hitman on the dark web. Shop local.
Like, think global, act local.
It's definitely the FBI.
You go to Mick Gatto and you say, "I need a problem solved. Here's an envelope of cash." Okay, that's
perfect.
That's the Australian way. Allegedly. So that should cover us.
Anymore, Howard. Anyway, that's right.
Well, cash is king.
Under the mattress.
My nonno always said the banks they're no good. The Greens.
You're a lot of hitmen. Your nonna.
Well, he was Sicilian, so do the math. The Greens have been accused of double standards after a senator's criticism of Pauline Hanson's "piss off back to Pakistan" tweet. So
drama in the old Senate this week. Bit of name calling and
that tweet was bananas though. I remember seeing it when Pauline Hanson posted it because it was a few weeks ago now, I think.
So Pauline Hanson basically told Senator Faruqi, who was a Greens senator, to fuck off back to Pakistan.
Piss off back to Pakistan. Saying, quote, "I'll take her to the airport." Which is not, it's not every day that you get, some friends. You get friends, quote unquote. When you really need them, you go, "Hey, mate, I need a lift to the airport." They go, "Oh, sorry, I'm brushing my hair that day." Not real friends, not like Pauline Hanson. Pauline Hanson's a real mate. She'll drive you to the airport in order for you to be excommunicated from the country.
And I feel like probably to try and make you feel comfortable, she'll wear the burqa she already has.
We know she's got one.
Yeah, I feel like she's got one.
She's just done this because she hasn't been in the news for like the last 12 months because there's been other stuff happening.
Welcome to Pauline Hanson.
She's like, I gotta create kind of a bit of a fire over here.
Well, when Parliament first started sitting this year, she refused to acknowledge the welcome to country for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, which is like weird.
Despite
because
the fact that
they've been doing
she's probably acknowledged it for
a
years,
decade.
since like 1996.
Yes.
Like when she was first in Parliament up to now.
Yeah, for 30 years. It hasn't
James
been an
Ashby's
issue.
probably just in the background going, "Oh, you're not getting any cut through." And actually, I don't know if James Ashby still works for One Nation. He might not do anymore. But anyway,
he's too busy getting on the sauce, if I recall.
Yeah. Gone too soon.
But the Greens have also been mired in, I guess, a bit of a. The Herald Sun's been like frothing over it. Like Murdoch man, just like having a grand old time.
Just once more for the sound. If you could just do that again, we kind of lost that.
Do we want to do it again?
Yep, off you go.
I think George.
Yeah, Discord is doing me the favor. Discord is doing me the favor and cutting it out so the listeners don't. Adam is making a sort of a gyrating motion with his body and
frothing at the mouth like a zombie.
You were frothing at the mouth like a zombie. That's not what it looked like.
Not what it looked like at all.
In fairness, the hands probably
the two hands sort of pointing back and forth from your mouth gave it a different.
Implied a very good time was going on.
The
Herald Sun have been having a very good time. To be fair,
fair.
So basically, there's another Green senator, Lydia Thorpe, who has been accused by an Aboriginal elder of basically attacking her. So
attacking her in what sense?
So basically, I'm going to try and find the content here. Basically, she came in to meet. So it's Auntie Geraldine Atkinson. She went to meet Lydia Thorpe in June of last year, and they basically got into a bit of a verbal tiff, as it were. And yeah, effectively, Lydia Thorpe is accused of basically being a bit vicious, being abusive. I don't know exactly what they were talking about. It might have been something to do with, I don't know, potentially. Actually, I have no idea. I was thinking it might have been to do with the voice to Parliament, but I think that I'm not sure exactly what they were meeting about. But basically, Auntie Geraldine Atkinson has since come out and sort of said, "Hey, like this," and Lydia Thorpe's been sort of making a few waves and percent it otherwise by basically saying she wasn't going to swear an oath to the Queen and all this other stuff.
Yes, that was an interesting.
She's very gung ho about what she believes in and her stances and things like that.
She basically, the details in the SBS article are pretty scant. I think out of respect to sort of not, make it sort of too offensive for different people, but pretty much Adam Bandt and the Greens haven't really done anything about it. Lydia Thorpe herself identifies as Indigenous, as far as I'm aware. So
she is Indigenous, yeah.
But the issue being is that she's basically in this meeting, which was meant to be sort of, I guess all kosher and professional. She's pretty much just like and got very personal.
It's interesting because Auntie Geraldine referred to saying needing medical care and things after this meeting, was quite shaken. All that sort of stuff. And Lydia has sort of said it was a tough meeting, and my job is not to be people's friends, but to get what my constituents want. So it seems like not denying that they had a negative conversation, that it's just the scale of conduct, or like the kind of conduct that was happening is what is alleged, right?
Thorpe hasn't apologized. It was her staffer that had to go in basically and sort of clean the scene up, so to speak, and be like,
I think sorry. Lydia doesn't think she's done anything worth apologizing for, is where
But surely both things are wrong. Like, this comes back to what we were talking about, like with the Anti-Corruption Commission, like this interaction that Lydia Thorpe had with Geraldine Atkinson obviously sounds like it was a bit unprofessional. I don't know the exact nature of what occurred and who's involved and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It seems like it was a not good interaction. That's bad. And also, Pauline Hanson saying that a member of the Muslim community should piss off back to Pakistan. Also bad. And those two things are not mutually exclusive. It's not like, your side did this, your side did this, so they're hypocrites. It's like, no, both of those things are bad and are completely unrelated to one another.
That's the Murdoch's, I think, point is that, what Adam Bandt's been sort of hauled through the coals for now by, like 9 News as well, which is, increasingly more centrist and right-wing anyway. But they're basically saying that, you can't call out someone else's behaviour when you haven't got your own complaint handling process sorted out.
Yes, they're engaging in the nana foo-foo defence, which is obviously very, very mature for a publication to do. Yeah, surely we can just recognise that both of those things are not on, like, regardless of party or policies or...
It's definitely just like a point-scoring thing from the right, basically.
And I think the article from the SBS here that I'll just double-check this just to make sure that I'm right in this assertion. Here we go. That so it wasn't, though, this wasn't brought about recently in up to SBS because people were saying that, hey, Adam Bandt, like someone in your cohort has been accused of this, and what are you doing about it? Like, you can't be having a go about the piss off back to Pakistan comments while not also talking about the Lydia Thorpe allegations. Was that it was Waleed Ali talking to Senator Faruqi, who the piss off back to Pakistan comment was directed towards. So I think, like, saying to the woman who Pauline Hanson was telling to fucking go back where you came from in her own way, and then saying, well, hang on, but your party hasn't done anything about someone else. It's like, yeah, but I'm the one.
I'm the victim.
She was directing her racist tirade to.
Yeah, it's nonsense, and it's such a classic fucking Waleed whataboutism fucking nonsense there. But yeah, like I don't know. I also think there's a difference between having a stoush with someone in private and also like tweeting "piss off back to Pakistan." Like, you know what I mean? Like, what they're different gradations of thing. Like both are unbecoming of members of
Member of Parliament.
The Parliament. Yeah. But I don't know. I think one is definitely more corrosive to the fabric of our society than others. People publicly saying, I mean, is anyone surprised that Pauline Hanson's a racist? No. I mean, she came to prominence on a platform of virulent racism. Now, the people against whom she... yeah, multiple times against whom the people against whom she is racist has changed somewhat over the years. She's progressed against being anti-Asian to being anti-Muslim. So there is some evidence of an educational, perhaps there is hope for us all. If Pauline Hanson, maybe if she goes through all of the races, she'll eventually realize that we're all equal. I hardly think that those two things are co-equal. It's like one is much more corrosive to our society than the other.
And there is something to say about hey, you need to also take. It's what we're talking about, the anti-corruption thing, right? Anti-corruption commission of but how would you feel about if Labor people are caught up in this as well? It's like, yeah, you need to take that shit seriously as well. You can't just be like, we need an anti-corruption or we need an anti-bullying report into Parliament to get rid of the other, to challenge the other guys. And if someone in your party is also accused of bullying, you can't just go, oh no, but we're okay. Worthy thing to discuss, sure. But I think when the person themselves who had this racist comment targeted to them is talking about it, you don't then go, but what about you guys dealing with someone accused of some serious bullying? It's like, okay, I don't see how that's comparable to what we're talking about here. Take that up with Adam Bant, I guess, as leader of the party. If you want to talk about that, take that up with him.
Any party, it's the thing that the right does where they identify a lack of moral purity in their opposition as evidence that they're hypocrites. But it's like, no, the party is just a party like any other party. I think the errors that the Greens have made, I think, are less substantial than the errors that the LNP has made on a number of fronts. So I'd rather vote for them than the LNP.
And
but
perfect purity is impossible to find.
Yeah, exactly. It's an unrealistic standard to hold someone up against. So yeah, it's not good, and any behavior that's not good should be should be admonished. But I think it's also completely unhelpful in the face of pretty public invocations to entire sectors of the community to piss off back to where they came from. I think it's unhelpful to go, what about fucking...
The whataboutisms are...
What about...
They degrade the conversation. They don't...
It adds nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just classic Waleed behavior. It's just like, have you thought about from this perspective where both sides are actually shit and it's only the centrist institutions that are actually correct? It's like,
what if we...
Thanks, Waleed.
Have we considered not doing anything?
Have we
maybe
tried
that's the solution to the problem we're talking
about. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe doing nothing is the solution.
Have we tried doing nothing? Doing nothing anyway?
This has been the project.
Yeah.
Speaking of doing nothing, moving overseas, Liz Truss.
Well, contrary to popular belief, Liz Truss is actually, if Liz Truss is guilty of anything, it's not doing nothing. It's doing too many things that are horrendous and catastrophic for the British economy.
Oh, yeah, it's the opposite of that. But she's had what
the British don't need is more pork markets?
More pork markets?
She's not had a good fortnight.
What?
So the pound has plummeted.
Yeah.
There are issues with, she announced a mini budget, which had a bunch of measures around how they were going to tackle.
I think they called it a fiscal event.
Yeah.
A fiscal event, which reminds me of, I don't know if you guys have seen, what's that? The guy who does Family Guy. Okay, here we go. Who's
Seth MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane. Seth MacFarlane's show about his Star Wars parody show.
The Orville, the Star Trek one.
Very good. Yeah. Where there's a character who's obviously their whole race is meant to be a spoof of the Klingons from Star Trek. Yep. And he and his partner are going to engage in what he calls the sexual event. and they're arguing, and then they obviously don't have sex, and he says, "You have ruined the sexual event." That's what it made me think of when I heard fiscal event. Thank you for coming with me on this.
That's a very, like, in terms of like 6 degrees of separation, like you're up to number 4 there, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
What I'm saying
good.
is,
I haven't seen the Orville, and George gave me enough information to get his comparison.
So to apply it to the current situation for satirical purposes, Liz Truss, you have ruined the financial event.
So yeah, people are pretty angry in the UK, and for some reason, this week, for some reason, Downing Street decided it would be a great idea if she would, rather than talk to like the national mastheads and primetime TV, that she would go on local radio to explain some of these things.
Winning hearts and minds, Adam.
With hearts and minds on local radio. So there's basically, it was organised through the BBC, but the BBC has like local stations, right, in various areas of the UK. And so the concept was that basically she would phone into each of these radio shows and do a little like 3-minute bit, right, with the local breakfast hosts, and they lined them all up one after the other, so they were all in like a half-hour slot. So she's effectively like hang up the one and pick up the phone, and then hang up one, pick up the phone, and they'd just go through these 8 or whatever it was
effectively shows. She's doing the job of a junior sales representative, hitting the phones to try and drum up some positive publicity for the government in the wake of their horrendous decisions to cut taxes on high income earners and like there was a whole sort of mess of policies that even there's this great podcast called The Rest is Politics with Alistair Campbell and Rory Stewart, so former Labor heavyweight, former Tory heavyweight, and they've come together and they're friends, and they do this show where they talk about politics. And even Rory Stewart, who is like an ardent conservative and like has worked under Liz Truss in a previous role, was like, yeah, I don't fucking understand what she's doing. It makes no sense. This plan makes no sense. What was the name of the new treasurer is Kwame something. And Rory Stewart said they should have called it a Kwame Kazi attack. Because they basically, they've cut taxes. They're wanting to cut taxes to a bunch of high income earners. And then it's classic like trickle down economics. Thatcher with a hard on kind of fucking nonsense politics. And the only thing that made any sense is they're like, we're wanting to increase immigration because that's going to help facilitate, our skills shortage and all this sort of stuff. But like is openly against all of like the pro-Brexiteering stuff that the party has done in the last 7 years. So like the whole thing is just an absolute mess. And yeah, as you say, Adam, the pound collapsed and British markets freaked out. And then the Chancellor of the Exchequer got on TV again and said, actually, we're going to do more tax cuts. And then the economy plummeted even in response to all this negative press about tax cuts. We're going to do even more tax cuts. And everyone just freaked the fuck out.
Yeah, it was wrong to do that, but maybe this time it'll work for us.
Yeah. The problem is we haven't been cutting taxes hard enough.
Yeah. Does cutting taxes ever work? No, but this time it might.
This time it's about just not enough ideological purity. That's what people want from us is more tax cuts for the 1%.
Of course, the concept of tax cuts is that, if they've got more money, they can then, the cost of it'll help the cost of living. But if it's going to the top, 1% or whatever it is.
That's a great idea. We should cut income taxes for the people. Even income tax rates are not wholly sufficient for the task of being equitable and progressive because they favor people who have jobs. And people who have jobs aren't necessarily the worst off. There's a bunch of people out there that don't have jobs that could use direct economic assistance that aren't helped whatsoever by any kind of tax cut. So tax cuts... by their nature, for income tax cuts, are inherently regressive because they mostly benefit people who already have jobs who are not the least fortunate by definition. Thank you, Liz. Anyway, so Liz got on...
You do these radio shows.
BBC.
Now, the concept was, I think, that by doing these, she would have a bunch of softball questions, like haha, jokey jokes, like
winning hearts and minds.
Bunch of good sound bites.
And that's not what happened.
Nope.
The local radio hosts, I guess, were like, oh, we've got a big get. So I guess I'll ask some questions that our listeners actually give a shit about. And she got destroyed.
She got roasted Roasted like so many
multiple
pigs,
times.
like so many pigs at the pork markets that she opened in Beijing. Let's have a listen.
It might be an ad with this video, but we'll punch through it.
A couple of people have said to me here in Nottingham, this is like a reverse Robin Hood.
That simply isn't true.
Which
by
bit
far
of it?
the biggest part
Which
of
bit
the
of
mini.
it?
Well,
that the tax cuts are disproportionately benefiting the wealthiest.
The biggest part of the package that we announced is the support on energy bills, of making sure that people across this country are not facing energy bills of more than £2,500 and that businesses can get through this winter. We were facing a situation where pubs were going to go out of business, where shops were going to go out of business, where people were facing unaffordable energy bills. And the package that we presented in the energy statement, but also in the mini budget last week, the biggest part of that is the help on energy.
People were worried about being able to heat their homes, and you've acknowledged that. People are now worried about being able to keep their homes. And we've dealt with it,
and that is the biggest part of the package.
But with the interest rates and people's mortgages, they're now worried not only can they heat their homes, but whether they can keep their homes, whether they can afford their mortgages.
It's an important principle that interest rates are set by the Independent Bank of England.
Yes, that is the case. But here's a quick primer on the economy, Liz. If you butt-fuck the economy, that's not going to improve the situation for interest rates and for inflation. And they're going to have to increase those interest rates further to deal with that inflation.
The reverse Robin Hood question is just great.
Delicious.
It's like, it's like a reverse Robin Hood. It's affecting the rich and taking from the poor. Yeah. And she can't say, no, that's not true because, well, there's tax cuts. But to say, like, yeah, which part of that isn't true? It's like, and you heard her stumble over it because it's one of those like, oh shit, do I lie? Like, do I say something that will quite easily be debunked the very next time I speak to anyone? Or do I say the quiet part loud? Or, oh, fuck, I'm still on the call. What do I say? Oh, dear God. It's like, yeah, it's like hitting an AI with like a falsehood.
A zebra,
like a paradox.
Yeah, so something that it doesn't recognize, it just breaks its brain.
Sentence is false.
I think the way I would, if I had the opportunity to ask Liz Truss the question, I'd say, tell us how the Tory donor relief program is going. Just see what she says.
Yes, that was just one excerpt from one interview. She did like an hour's worth.
That was the best one.
That was the best one.
Oh, yeah. That was the one that went the best for her.
Yes.
Yes.
Apparently, so David Cameron came up with this concept. Like he was the one that was the fan of doing.
He's still fucking Parliament
from beyond the grave.
When he was Prime Minister, he used to like doing the BBC's local radio interview, and he said, this is quoting the Guardian article, arguing it kept him sharp and required him to be briefed by aides on issues that affected regional areas, even if he sometimes forgot which area he was talking about. There's a separate article which links to that, but on Thursday, apparently Truss seemed to be caught off guard by a question from Amy Oakton on the BBC radio Tees about dead crabs washing up on the shores of the North Sea, which apparently is a significant issue in the area and has been largely off the national agenda. So Truss wouldn't have had any idea about what the fuck this radio host is talking about because she wouldn't have been briefed on it.
How hard is it, though? How hard is it to get one of your staff members to go for each one of these radio stations, just put together a Google Doc and just put like half a dozen key points about the region in? So when I'm talking to Nottingham, I know what Nottingham's going to ask me about. It's just like very basic political communications 101.
Yeah, what do the people of Lancashire care about?
Just throw some fucking pretend that you're Prime Minister of the whole country for a moment and not just the South. And just think about like, if I'm talking to these people, just maybe just half a dozen dot points as to what they care about, where they are, what their situation is, like why they care that I'm speaking to them at the moment. Like, so basic.
I just like some of the quotes we've got here, like as the Guardian quoted, the listener from Radio Kent just asking, are you ashamed of what you've done?
Love it.
Like, just straight up be able to ask that.
Political kryptonite. There's no good answer to that because it's like,
beautiful.
If the answer is yes, then you've done yourself in.
Then you clearly, A, say you're ashamed of it, and B, acknowledge that you did it. But if you say, I'm not ashamed of what I've done, I don't know, it kind of implies either that you
shameless.
are shameless and evil, and maybe also, like, you could infer from it that she's agreeing that she's done the thing you're asking if she should be ashamed of.
The only thing that you can do in that situation is you do what Barnaby Joyce does, where, you know, the people of Nottingham obviously don't want to be talking about this. They want to hear about modular nuclear reactors. That's what the people at the IGA are talking about.
That's what they're always asking me about, not how many families I have.
The only way to win that question is to completely sidestep it. And she just has no political nous whatsoever. Like, it's amazing that this woman is the prime minister of one of the largest economies on the planet. Like, it's so bizarre. She's so not up for the job, obviously.
Oh, but, you know, it's delicious to see.
Meanwhile, while that's happening, Russia's just annexing areas of Ukraine for fun and pretending that it hasn't somehow, you know, potentially punched a hole in its, you know, self-sabotaged its own pipeline in the Baltic.
I saw a great cartoon. And normally I don't talk about political cartoons because they are inherently a visual medium, but it was this cartoon that showed Vladimir Putin playing Russian roulette. And so the first bullet that he's putting in says, you know, the invasion. And like the fourth bullet that he's putting in says, you know, partial mobilization. And then like the sixth bullet that he puts in says nukes. And so now he's like playing Russian roulette with 6 bullets in the revolver of 6. So it's like, yeah, it really is like catastrophic for Putin to continue along this path. And yet it seems like he sees no other way of, like, there's no, it's like, dig up, you idiot. Like he's in a hole and he just keeps digging downward. I just don't see how this is going to end well for anyone.
And the referendums that we spoke about last week, they were held.
We should put a big air quote around referendums. Okay, so if it's a referendum where 70% of the country is left and it's currently under occupation from a foreign government, it's not really a free and fair referendum. It's kind of a bullshit it's a fig leaf that is so insufficient that you can see Putin's ballsack dipping out from beneath it, right? Like, it is beyond a joke of a fig leaf, right, at this stage.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild referendum when the people turning up with the ballot are armed.
It's a very independent referendum. It's the military's coming to your house to collect the ballots for this free, fair referendum. What do you got on that ballot? Let me have a quick... No, we don't want that ballot. We're just going for the free and fair referendum ballots. We'll go to the next house.
So the question now is, well, what happens next? And I don't know if anyone really knows that. Zelensky's applied for fast-track NATO membership, which
I mean,
is a terrible idea.
Good luck. No. Like, sure. I mean, you got to be in it to win it. You got to risk it to get the biscuit. But let's just say that
must be achievable, though. Sure.
No. It's in, as we all know from the NBA, which we've all done together by the virtue of the fact that I've been talking so much about it. So you all get partial credits just for listening to this. Big, hairy, audacious goals. They're part of any good management process. You want to reach for the stars, okay? And if you hit the moon by accident, then so be it.
But I mean, at the same time, you know, like, Ukraine's making gains in a bunch of different areas. So, like,
Ukraine's making gains, and Russia, do you even lift, bro? You know,
sure,
it's all about them gains.
Everyone's I don't. They keep mentioning the word nuclear weapon, like the nuclear weapons sort of catchphrase, but I don't really think there's no, like, what are you going to use the nuke on that's justifiable? There's no targets. There's no reason. Like, if you set a nuke off in the country that you've just annexed, you know, like, you're just going to bloody irradiate.
Here's the thing:
the area
is that it doesn't make sense. Like, nuclear weapons from a from an annexing perspective, if you're wanting to gain territory, a nuclear weapon is obviously not helpful to you because then you'll be dealing with an irradiated continent, which provides no value. But this isn't the 1800s anymore, where it was about the land grab, because grabbing land in an expansionist kind of, colonial environment was useful for resources. We're not in that environment anymore, right? Economic gains in the 21st century are completely, I don't want to say completely untethered, but I mean, you look at, places like Taiwan and Singapore, which is like, they don't have any great natural reserves within them. They have developed knowledge economies and they've developed advanced manufacturing, and like all of that stuff is completely decoupled from the amount of territory that you control. It's not like, oh, well, we've got all the territory, so now we own all the gold mines and stuff that's under it. Like, that's a portion of it, but that doesn't have any sort of bearing anymore. Not a significant bearing on the 21st century. If that was the case, Russia would be the richest country in the world because it controls, as far as I'm aware, the most territory in the world.
Yeah.
So if that was a direct one-to-one relationship with economic success, they wouldn't be the 11th largest economy in the world. That's just a petrol station. They'd be...
Ukraine, when the Soviet Union was around, Ukraine was one of the economic,
powerhouses
of the
wheat
Union, right?
the wheat mill of the world, right?
So yeah, there are, but like if you're only taking over a portion of it, like the net gains, it's just him trying to save face at this point.
You know what's really good for productivity? Having a fucking land war in Europe. That's really great for for people's agricultural productivity. That's going to be really awesome. It just proves that it's purely ideological for Putin at this point. It's really got nothing to do with any sort of economic, because the sanction, if it was to do with economic benefit, any benefit that you would get from subsuming a portion of another country is completely cancelled out by the fact that the entire Western world refuses to do business with you anymore, right? So
I don't think that they necessarily thought it was going to have economic benefit. I think it always has been ideological.
That's what I'm saying.
For him to a point, yeah. But at what cost? It's kind of the thing, I guess.
Pretty significant cost. And the really scary thing is for the people in these territories who are leaving by the droves now. It's like, okay, well, if we're part of Russia now, we can get called up in the draft to fight in this war against our own countrymen as a result of this, annexation. Like, it is truly monstrous.
Yeah, that's right. Shit.
That's why they're leaving in droves, because it's like, if we're Russia now, then we're on the Russian side of this war that we don't want any part of, right? So yeah, it's bad in a number of different ways.
And it definitely shows that you're because this whole line that they've been pushing since February of like, oh no, but there are people in these regions who like
crying out
believe
for us
they want to be part of Russia, blah 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 blah. So as soon as you announce, yeah, you are, like, we welcome you into Russia with open arms, and they're all like out of there, like just fucking running. They really wanted to be part of Russia, Putin. You read the room.
How much of them have actually within those regions? Like a lot of people left in those regions. Like a lot of the people that were pro-Ukrainian would have left during the civil war since 2014, or since the start of the conflict in January, whatever. So I don't know how many have actually left from those regions as a direct result of the referendum. I don't.
Well, it's as a direct result of the war. Yeah, the quote unquote referendum. It's a significant portion. Like, entire towns have just been emptied out. So it's not as though this is like.
The population has emptied
as a result of the war.
Time. Yeah. But definitely in Russia, they're trying to leave. The queues at the borders. Finland, I think, is closing the border now. People are trying to get out. Airlines are booked out. So yeah, I don't know. Even Putin now has acknowledged that that we didn't do the whole conscription thing very well. So we won't conscript old people.
Bad.
Or people that are, potentially, sole
You know
parent.
what? I think of the list of things that you could say Putin hasn't done very well, I think the conscription rollout is not high on that list for me. Like, the logistics of to who they're calling up, maybe the war you started. Pretty high.
Yeah, it's like complaining that the cake is chocolate when you're lactose intolerant. You're gluten free to begin with. You can't eat cake. Like, it's like the fact that it's chocolate is kind of the least of those concerns. The whole thing in its totality, it just proves that how wrong-headed and illogical the whole thing is. It's purely ideological for him, and which is even scarier, right? Because it means there's at least when if there's an economic imperative, or if there are compromise, there are compromises that can be reached, right? If you're dealing with a logical actor, the problem with dealing with someone who's purely ideological and is like completely decoupled from reality is that I don't know that there is an equitable settlement that can be reached, because his intent is to destroy a culture. Like, it's bordering on genocidal. So how do you compromise with that? You know?
Yeah, you can't. Oh no, but we can. Oh yeah, we can negotiate with these people. Oh
yeah, because it's worked so well.
I'm not drawing allegories to anything else. No, not at all.
No, certainly not.
Not at all. Not in the slightest. I wouldn't dare.
Any sort of historical examples. Anyway, Italy has elected its first fascist since the. In a completely unrelated story, Italy has elected its first far-right party since, checks notes, Benito Mussolini. I don't know if people are familiar with that name.
Never heard of him.
Hyphenated.
Benito Mussolini. Okay, I'm not sure who that guy is, but I'm sure he sounds like a good guy. So, yeah, typically the rise of far-right fascistic governments in Italy hasn't had excellent historical results. But it seems as though that's what's happened in Italy. And it seems like the political analysts the world over are now trying to pass the very important question: is she a fascist? Is she a neo-fascist? Is she a post-fascist? Is she a postmodern fascist? These are the important questions, not why has Italy, the seventh largest economy in the world, last I checked, considered a return to the politics of the darkest period in their history.
That seems what is like a I don't know, what's a postmodern fascist? Is that just the same as fascist, but they've got like Andy Warhol soup cans on the wall?
I was going to say it's a fascist, but their chin is in the wrong place, like Picasso.
Ah, right. A cubist fascist.
A cubist fascist.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Great.
It is interesting. It is of note that the first time that Italy has elected a female as their leader, it does happen to be a far right leader. I don't know what it is with. I think Tom, you mentioned something just before the show. Remind me about the fact that it was a female leader.
Oh, I forget who exactly said it, but I think a right-wing commentator she brought up. The left always want women in power until it's a conservative woman. Like, just trying to point out like a bullshit straw man double standard of being like, you want more women in power, and then you're saying it's bad that this woman is in power, cucks. And everyone's
why don't you cucks want a Nazi female?
Yeah.
I think we lost Tom.
Unspoken part of that is we want more women in power, but not their fashy.
Yeah.
Am I gone?
No, you're here. I gotcha.
I'm here. Okay, good.
Yep.
Sorry, sometimes I don't know if my network cuts out, that I could be in the middle of like making a fantastic gag, and then you guys are just like, I think Tom's gone. I'm like, but I'm still talking and I can hear you. Ligma, George, Ligma.
I'm not going to engage you in your Ligma jokes. I think it's more about the fact that we've internalized misogyny so much as a society that we can only entertain a female leader if she displays all of the wrong-headed credentials of a neo-fascist. It's like that's the only way that we can get behind a woman is if she's just as fascistic and shit-headed as their male counterparts. It's never like a far left, Green Party woman leader. It's always just like Margaret Thatcher come to rule with an iron clit. Like it's always that kind of.
Jesus, how long have you had that one in the can? The barrel?
Got to deployed the iron clit.
Got to bed around 2:30.
If we like pan the camera around, George just has a notepad on his desk that says "rule with an iron clit" and it's underlined.
Question mark.
But
no, believe it or not, I came up with that on the spot.
Much more effective than my wet shoe comment from earlier in the show.
I mean, I wouldn't want to keep drawing attention to it, Adam, but I have a flair for rhetoric, it has to be said. It does seem as though, we can only respect women. I think this is in the Western world, all over, when they behave like men. And just the worst men as well. It's just like they can't just be nice lady leaders. They need to be, the lady version of, Silvio Berlusconi or whoever the worst version of the male Italian leadership is. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. There's
sorry, Tommy.
Sorry, Adam. No, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, you hang up.
The party is called the Brothers of Italy.
Led by a woman. Hypocrites.
And the Guardian article that we're sort of referring to sort of says that it's not so much that they're fascist. They're kind of the first European copycat of the US Republican Party, is the way that this.
I actually thought that was quite an interesting comment because, yes, that still makes them fascists. Sorry, America. But yeah, it is interesting that America. It is an interesting dimension to this. That is something we've covered on the show before. Is that America has a habit of exporting culture, and right now its culture is divisive right-wing politics, and so it is interesting to see how that gets picked up in various places all across the world, and we see that cross-pollination, like with Viktor Orban in Hungary, who was recently returned to power in what some have described as not quite the freest and fairest election I've ever seen. That there is, he was speaking at CPAC, earlier this year. So there is this rise of right-wing neo-fascist sort of populist politics in Europe as a direct result of what's happening over in America. We could see it with Marine Le Pen versus Emmanuel Macron in the last election in France just a few months ago, where she won a higher portion of the vote than she ever had previously. We can see it with the Golden Dawn Party gaining seats in Greece. The same thing, right-wing sort of neo-fascist, openly, sort of fascistic sort of party gaining prominence in Greece.
The whole Brexit movement is
Brexit can be linked into that as well. So
linked into it as well.
I think it's not unreasonable to say that there is a link between the rise of right-wing fascistic populists, especially in the wake of the Donald Trump 2016 election. It's given safe harbor to all those kinds of gross views.
Of personality, yeah. And when we talk about fascists, we don't necessarily mean they're not Nazis, but
yeah, they're not Zig Heiling, but they're pretty fucking close. So
fascism is all about the cult of the leader, right?
Yeah. And Bolsonaro in Brazil is another great example. Yeah.
So that's the kind of populist. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about when we talk about fascists. When Putin talks about fascists, he tries to draw lines between Nazis, even though his own regime is basically a fascist regime. But
okay, well, here's the Wikipedia definition of fascism, right? Fascism is a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy, so some groups are, superior to others, subordination of individual interest for the perceived good of the nation, and race and strong regimentation of society and the economy. I mean, if that isn't Donald Trump,
it looks like shit and it smells like shit.
Yeah, it turns out someone's taking a whole big steamy dump on your democracy. And traditionally, that is unfortunately how democracy leaves itself open to these kinds of movements by being free and fair, not the kind of free and fair democracy that we saw in Ukraine earlier this week. 3 days notice for
problem as well with Italy is that traditionally, their political system's been pretty broken anyway, with corruption and divisive, all these minor parties,
factionalism, left, right, center,
and it's really hard to get a, people don't all agree in Italy, turns out, on certain things.
Cazzo, what are you talking about? We all agree in Italy. We agree the granita's tasty. We agree the women are beautiful. We agree on everything.
And in those environments, just like in, the Weimar Republic of Germany back in the day, fascists tend to cut through and gain power in those sorts of contexts.
It's the snappy uniforms. That's what it is. It's a fashion sense.
They look really good.
Snappy dresses.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yep.
Hugo Boss designed SS uniforms, if you don't know that story. And Hitler drove around in a Mercedes. So just think about that next time you're picking up a luxury car.
We've gone over time.
Do we have a time to go over?
It's a podcast. We do
it's as long or as short as we want.
On that note,
I have to get some groceries, so let's go.
On that note, we have been, we are, and we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. Make sure you follow us on all the bullshit social medias that have, do, or ever will exist at Unnatural Show. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and motherfucking TikTok. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at George Tsipos.
You can follow me on Twitter at Tom D. Heath.
You can follow me on Instagram at AC Doreen.
And you can follow us all down to the headquarters of the Brothers of Italy. We'll be dressed up as our favorite characters from Mussolini era Italy to make a point that they are nothing like them whatsoever, and we won't be greeted with open arms. This was good. I felt like I got a lot of yelling out. I got a bit of endorphins. I feel like I'm a little bit loosey goosey. I'm ready to approach the day.
Yeah. Great. The day's almost ended, so
fantastic.
It's 5:30 on a Sunday, so really your week's over. So I'm glad you got that second win now.
Yeah, right, just in time. Thanks for listening, guys. Love your faces. We'll see you next week.